Hi and welcome to your session. I am Coach Jill, coming to you from a rainy night in Sudbury. As I was researching what I was going to do today's episode of coaching with our session with Coach Jill, I came across, for inspiration, a video that Gary Vaynerchuk had recently done. And it really talked about self-awareness and coming from a place of honesty. So one of the things that he gave as advice was sometimes it's hard to give advice when you're actually just really starting out. And as I was listening to him talk, I just kind of thought, that would be the platform in which I would kind of start with today. I've been a psychotherapist for about 23 years. I feel like I've had a very successful practice, both when I was in Sudbury and when I was in Sarnia. But one of the reasons why I decided to do videos and all that kind of stuff was really because I wanted to bump up my marketing of myself. And like I said in the first video, what I learned at UPW was I wanted to hire a mentor, so somebody who had done it before and had been successful. I really borrow concepts from NLP, and they talk about modeling and that being a really important and integral part of changing and being successful. So just last Wednesday, I hired a coach who is just a tremendous person and who I was very much inspired by. It has over 1 million views on YouTube and has been really, really successful. And one of the things that he challenged me to do was to start doing videos on YouTube. And I gotta say that first day I procrastinated till after I had seen a full roster of clients during the day. So I didn't get really started till about 7 p.m. After seeing my clients. And even then I hesitated. Now you guys might argue, well, you took that long for that content that you delivered in the first session, but honestly I guess I had a lot of fear because in this format I really don't know what I'm doing. I was really worried that the content that was being delivered wasn't going to be adequate enough. I think it's a fear that everybody kind of has. Tony Robbins talks about the two major fears that people have is the fear of not being good enough and the fear of not being loved. So I think it was striking one of those two chords for me in terms of making this kind of a successful endeavor. So that first night, I think my video was about 14 minutes long. And honestly, by the time I was done and I had finally successfully put it online, I think it was about 7 hours later. So yeah, that first night I was up till about 2 in the morning to kind of figure it out. Now, people usually say with practice it gets easier and it gets better. Well, that wasn't very true for my second video. During my second video, it took me even longer. I started earlier after seeing my clients, but I went till 3 a.m. and actually the video didn't get posted till the very next day. The frustrating part was that this feeling that I really don't know what I'm doing, and actually brought me right back to my first sessions in working with clients. I started my career actually in Sarnia, where a colleague of mine suggested that I kind of take over his practice. He was leaving Sarnia to go teach in Kingston, And it was a tremendous loss for me because Mike had so many resources. He was an outstanding therapist, worked with violent kids, and really did great work. So it was a tremendous personal loss. But he had suggested, why don't you start seeing clients? And I looked at him, smiled, and said, but I have a job. And he says, no, yeah, I know, but think of this as a retirement plan. And I think at the time I was in my early 30s, and I kind of went, retirement plan? I'm kind of a far away from that. And he says, sure, I understand that, but maybe you could see 1 or 2 clients a month, that kind of thing, and slowly build up to where the time you can retire, and you'll have maybe 10 clients a month or something like that. Well, my client roster grew quite quick, and the feeling that I had at the time was, man, I don't know what I'm doing. So that's very much how I felt this week with this new technology, which was, man, I don't know what I'm doing. So bought some basic equipment, quality mic, a tripod, but really kind of kept it to the minimum because that's how I was instructed by my mentor to just keep things basic and just put up content. But this first 4 days, I got to tell you, it was really this feeling that constant doubt where I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if this has value. Nobody's watching my videos, all that kind of stuff. And the words that he said kind of continue to resonate within me, which is just keep doing it. And what was interesting is when I was watching Gary's video as well, is he just kind of said the same thing. Keep putting out content, keep putting out value. And the best way to put value is when you start from an honest place. It's not about giving advice. And I felt that my video about stress management was a presentation I've done, and I have confidence there. But it's really about, in essence, pulling back the curtain like they do in The Wizard of Oz. It's recognizing that I'm just an average guy trying to make a difference in the lives of people. And that also brought me back to why I started in counseling and why did I want to do that work. I guess I knew very early on that this is kind of the field I wanted to get into. I had a real passion of wanting to help people, and I'd like to say that I wish I had the ability to help people in a way to make their car run better or their toilets flush better or whatever. I just didn't have that skill set. I just really wasn't good with my hands, which is kind of the opposite of how my father was. He was really, really handy. I just was really good at listening to people and helping people kind of come to their own realizations. I have been told that I'm a good listener, and I hope that that's a truth. I think that's how my clients feel the most. So I talked about that in yesterday's videos in picking a therapist, which was the importance of rapport. And I guess if I have one unique skill set, it is the ability to make people feel very comfortable. So even though I have the ability to make people feel comfortable, I got to share with you honestly, it's been quite uncomfortable for me getting started in this format. This is day 4. Hopefully I'll get to a point where I'm not counting days anymore. It'll just be part of my new routine. But I come to you humbly today with this new learning process, this new learning curve. I'm going to continue to do work on overcoming fear by just continuing to be consistent. So one last thing, I was just reminded of a great conversation that I had with a friend of mine who's a psychologist. He lives in Vaughan area, and I really treasure his friendship. And this is a guy who kind of in high school, we weren't sure what he was going to do with his life, and he really turned everything around, became a world-class athlete, and is just a phenomenal person. And I remember talking to him about his PhD, and I had said to him how proud I was of him, of how he just had really turned things around in his life. And he says, do you know what it takes to get a PhD? And I said, you got to be a good writer. And he said, no. You got to be good at statistics. No. And I came up with a couple more things about intelligence or stuff like that. And he's like, no. He's like, do you know what you really need? And I said, what's that? And he's like, perseverance beyond everything, knowing that no matter what, you will get it done. And that really resonated with me, because I know that one thing I'm most proud of is my graduate degree, my master's degree. Not because it's a piece of paper, not because it's recognized as an ultimate level of education. It's nothing about that at all. It's that while I was doing that, my dad passed away, and a lot of people around me just kind of were suggesting to me to just quit. I was doing it part-time, and actually I was finished my course. I was just really doing my thesis, and it really kind of sat for a while. And again, the people around me that were surrounding me at the time were saying, just, you have a good job. What are you wasting time on this? Just quit. And my honest response to them is, I can't. I have to see this through. And it's the thing I'm most proud of. So even though I sometimes think that I feel like this is not going to make a dent in the world, maybe it's just about my own personal journey, my own personal persistence in following through. And that even if you're scared, even if you have obstacles, that you persist no matter what. So thank you to Paul for reminding me of that message. Thank you to Gary Vaynerchuk for the inspiration today. And thank you to all of you for this personal look behind the curtain of what makes me tick. Thanks so much for coming. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed the content of today's video. Leave me a comment. I definitely welcome them, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks so much. Have a great, great day.